This is part of our election coverage, an important part of it. And the idea is to give you as much information as possible so that you can make an informed decision. Today we have with us Dr. Nihal Abeysinghe, who is a qualified epidemiologist, worked for the World Health Organization. He did head the unit here in Sri Lanka, and he has been a regional expert for Asia, and now he has returned to Sri Lanka and taken to politics. So that, Nihal, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Arjuna. I born to be yes. Okay, thank you.
Yes. So that was my first question. Why did you decide after retiring as an international expert to come back to Sri Lanka and take to politics, which some people in this country say is not a good game?
Okay, thank you, Arjuna. Thank you for inviting for this discussion. And in my case, actually, when I was in the school and when I was in the university, I was interested in Sri Lankan politics, but I did not get involved in politics for 35 years. I worked for the Ministry of Health and I separated from the ministry in 2008. When I was separating from the Ministry of Health, I was the chief epidemiologist of the country. And then I left for WHO, Southeast Asia Regional Office, to be the regional advisor on vaccine preventable disease for this region, covering 1/4 of children of the world. So, I mean, when I returned in 2016 October, I mean, I had many choices, but I selected one. Of course, I am dealing still with World Health Organization and sister organization doing immunization throughout the world. And that technically I am working with the outside organization, but inside I decided that I should join the civil and the political movement to change the system that is ongoing in ruling the country and for 72 years, which I really am not very happy about the current situation, and I really wanted to change.
Yes, I'm sure we are very grateful for people like that who do come. My question is, why did you choose the NPP to contest this election? Why this group?
Arjuna, I actually, when I returned to country in 2016, I realized that the country, the politics is not going to change because in 2018, the local government election that the people just voted for sensitive issues. And really my fellow citizens as well as my colleagues who were in the university and in schools and in my my health service arena. So we thought that there should be something that we must do to change the country's political system. So we got together and we formed a discussion group, and we started with a small group and we expanded the group, and we first we really developed the set of policies for the country, and then we thought why not we contesting the upcoming elections and then challenge the current the two camps. So that is how really we started doing this business, and then we were trying to discuss with all the progressive groups, including the left parties and the civil organization. So we started after developing our set of policies, and we discussed with all the groups who were actively involved in social work in the country, except those who are those who have joined UNP and Sri Lanka for the Peramana the party. So that's how we really, I joined this camp for this election.
Yes, because, one of the things that the NPP has a drawback is people have poor, bad memories about the JVP period in the 1980s, in particular, and they need. So we wonder whether. By forming the NPP and bringing civil society, and even the group which is like the 71 groups, which is, so some of them are contesting in this election as candidates, a bigger umbrella is it to, were we wondering whether they were trying to get away from that poor image, the bad image that the JVP created during that period?
See, yeah, I mean, we considered all that, and then we do have, gone through that experience in the past. So we really discuss about it, and then what actually we can see that since 1965, when the JVP came into the political arena of this country, no other left political party, was able to really win the public, during last almost 50 years. So we realized that they have their strategies were not acceptable to the public of this country, and it created a lot of difficulties to the nation. And then it's not only them, the governments, they tried to to keep them away from democratic politics. So all these matters we took into consideration, but still we thought that since 1994, they have not involved in any activity that will affect the society or keep them away from the society. So we thought that they have a strength and they have a very good organizational capacity, and we thought without them it's very difficult to develop the third force. So that is why we thought that we will use them and we will discuss with them. We had negotiations. Actually, JVP was very they were very pleasant when we were having the discussions, because they agreed to change the name, the party name. They agreed to leave away their, leave out their symbol, and then they agreed to form a new party. So that is how we have come with this the National People's Power and the new symbol compass.
They, to move on, what is in your mind the most important choice that the people have to make at this election? Is it a democratic choice? Is it an economic choice? What is the most important decision you think that voters are being asked to make?
I think it is both democratic. The rights people really will have to fight for these democratic rights. In the future. So therefore, that is an important area, and also economic. That specifically after the COVID situation, we realized, all Sri Lankan realized that we could not survive more than 2 months, and government had to reach 40 lakh families to with some 5,000 rupees to for them to survive. So that means our economy, first time in the history, the public felt that our economy is very unstable, and we are in a very bad position. So they have realized that it's very difficult to maintain their lives with this economy, and they know that any time that the country will go into very difficult economic situation. So I think people have to think of this, and people have to make sure that they will have a better future for their children. We know that our education system is now it's very difficult for the people who are in the rural areas. And yesterday I went to one of the very remote area in this district, Pahiyangala, and it took about 3 hours for me to reach from the main road to the village, and I had to change my vehicle to get into this village. But still people are there, still people are voting for the two camps, I mean, that's really, they need to think, and then they need to change for better, I mean, economic life in the future. So I think economy is the main factor, and for the middle class, I think it's democratic rights. The lower income group, I don't think that they are very much concerned about democratic rights, but the middle class, certainly they are worried about their democratic rights. So, I mean, both are very important in this election.
Very important point you made there, because as you know, recent studies which were published have shown that the majority of Sri Lankans are actually living below the poverty line, the international poverty line, not the official Sri Lankan poverty line.
Yes.
Even the former chairman of the central bank wanted us to go to the international poverty line so that we can see the reality, and also that people are spending more than they earn. And the lockdown really brought this home and showed that so many people needed a handout because they were daily wage earners. There was no stability in income for a large number of people. What solution do you think you can offer, your party, your alliance can offer to these people? Because that is now actually entered the public consciousness. Even the middle classes are aware that there is this huge problem out there, right?
Yes, yes, of course. In our policy document, we have clearly stated out that, I mean, currently all industries in this country are basically in the Western province. Actually, these the industries should move to the other provinces, and we need to, elevate the living conditions of the people who are in the other provinces. And when you go to the remote areas, of course, they do not have adequate, health facilities and adequate education facilities, and the professionals do not want to stay in those areas because they do not have facilities. So really, we need to take the industries to the periphery. And also that when it comes to the agriculture products, I mean, we can't see that whether the producer or the consumer, they have, at least a reasonable price when it comes to the, when they sell the produce that, the farmer that they bring to the market, and when the consumer buy it. So, I mean, we need to maintain this, the policy to, have a good price for the producer as well as a reasonable price for the consumer. So, I mean, that we are looking into the change of, situation in our policies, and also the tax system in this country, and mostly it is indirect tax. So we really want to make sure that we will go for more for direct tax and less for indirect tax, and also that we need investors. Actually, we need investors to come in, but still we have to maintain the wages for our laborers, but we can go for collaboration like other the developing countries. I mean, Vietnam, Cuba, I mean, those countries already have gone for very good collaboration with the developed countries, and then they are making a profit out of it. So probably there is a place that for Sri Lanka to go for collaboration with the developed countries, and make sure that we are benefited out of their support. And then the supporting families really to, who are really dependent on government subsidy. I mean, I recently went to a village near between Bandaragam and Porana electorate, and that whole village, about 362 families in the village, they are all self-employed. But that self-employment is supported by a government machinery. So they think that they need to continue to vote for that particular government. I think it's not. It's government money. It's public money that have been spent on those. To improve their lives. And then I mean, so that really we need to change this mentality that the governments are using public money to, get people out of the poverty. So therefore that we need to, I mean, convince the public that, it is everybody's money that they are using. So everybody has to be benefited. So other points like education, health, sports and recreations, we think that those are really necessary to have a productive, human being. So, we are investing, we are planning to invest more on those because we need strong persons to really develop the country. And then there are so many other proposals that we have wrote in our policy documents. I think, this will really help people to make their decisions in this election.
Sri Lanka is already in a serious economic situation. This new government, when it came in, it reduced direct taxation, PAYE, increased the limits, and then also took away the VAT. And as a result, government revenues fell, and then COVID happened. And now they are looking at, there are two roads that there is a possibility for the government to take. One is a very inward-looking economic policy, like the government is doing some import restrictions, encouraging people to grow food, and almost going back to what was a pre-1977 economy. And then this other advocacy, particularly the Samaki Janabalavega, is saying, look, we have to make friends around the world. We have to make friends around the world. We have to use those connections so that we can get debt relief and also invite in foreign investors. So what would you advocate? What is your party advocating? Is it a mix of the two, or which way should we go?
I think it has to be a mix of the two, because people are not ready to go back to pre-1977 era. So people have got used to a certain amount of comfort and a little bit of peaceful life. In the after 1977. So I don't think that the people will be willing to go back to that era. So therefore that we need to bring investors into the country, and we need to go for collaborative efforts. So therefore that we will really plan for to have a balance, because once we uplift the situation of the people who are in the periphery, those who are very poor, and I am sure that their contribution will be more to the economy, and then we can use human resource that we have to make it a skilled human resource. And at the moment, that people who are going out of various jobs to the Middle East, they are unskilled, and then they have a very hard time in their countries, but they earn very little. But if we can have a skilled labor force in this country, and I am sure that that will bring very big change to the country's economic situation. So we rely on the change in the education system and have a skilled labor and then knowledgeable labor market, and I'm sure that the investors will be very happy to have that type of labor market. And probably once we increase the economic status of the country while bringing collaborations to the country, and it will be really helpful, and we will have to have a balance of inward economy as well as bringing investment to the country.
The Sri Lanka Politjana Peramuna is asking for a 2/3 majority to make changes in the constitution, changes that your party supported in the last parliament. What is your message to the people? Why should the SLPP be given a 2/3 majority? If not, why not? Why not? Why shouldn't they be given?
I think we have gone through last 50 years. Many governments in the past, some had I mean, a very large majority, more than two-thirds. So, I mean, in all those instances, the public faced very many difficulties, and the workers were really harassed. So, I think, I mean, we should not give any party, I mean, more than what is required. And if we can remember in the past, when the governments had simple majority, they were doing very well compared to the instances that they had a large majority. So I think that we have learned, I mean, many lessons in the past. So we should not think of giving any party two-third majority, and simple majority with a strong opposition, I think will serve the country. And if the opposition can agree for good changes in the constitution, and I'm sure why not. And even when we are in the parliament, and if governments are bringing changes for the benefit of the country and the benefit of the public of this country, we are certainly will be supporting. There is no issue on that, because we are educated enough to consider what is good for the country and what is not good for the country. So we will be with the public, and we will be supporting any government. We may not get the government this time, but we are really urging for a strong membership in the parliament for NPP. So we will be really supporting any good changes to the constitution. I mean, government need not to be afraid of it.
You touched on a subject about that one village where everybody's self-employed, and they believe that they have to keep voting that particular party in order to keep the subsidies coming to them. That is a kind of mechanism that the Sri Lanka Pojana Peramuna has very successfully put down in villages across the country. Every party in the election has been talking to us about that. The Samudra Niyamaka, the Grama Sevaka, and all are supportive, or is part of that machinery that works for the SLPP. How do you want to break that? How are you trying to convince people that, look, this is public money, this is not their money? How have you about the message?
Very important issue, Arjuna, you brought. I mean, I think all these days, many of the parties, they believe that doing a social media campaign or doing a campaign in the electronic media is the best. But I do believe that, visiting people, meeting with the people, and discussing with the people's issues, and then convince them that this is the public money, and we have to make use of public money effectively to bring their problems, solve their problems, and bring them out of poverty. So I think I have been doing it during last 4 weeks, and I am really happy to say that, this is the way to do it. And when the results come, actually, I believe that I can prove it. And then we have been visiting many individuals, the relatives, the friends, and then the people who are really welcoming us. So they think that this is the way to do the campaign. And I believe that you can, any candidate has to visit the families and discuss with them and understand their situation. And in fact, I have understood now what foreigner electorate need. And though we have a good education facilities in this electorate, there are so many children who are unable to go for tuition. And then there are so many people who are above 60 who have no way getting good health facilities. And then they have to go for private sector to get their health services. And then there are many industries in this electorate, and then they are not really supported each other. So we need to bring them together. And also the environment. We have so many environmental issues, and we really need to support the people to protect this environment. So I'm really learning by doing this activity. I've been in public health services for 35 years in my life. So this is another era of my public health, approach. So I'll be really changing the situation, and I will ensure that my way is the way to change this system.
Um, that brings me to ask you to wear your other hat as an epidemiologist, and tell us about, give us your, expert view on how this country has managed the COVID up to now.
Arjuna, the World Health Organization declared COVID is a global pandemic on 30th of January 2020. And from that day up to 11th of March, this country could not take effective measures to prevent this infection getting into the country. So that was really a failure. And if I go back to the history, in 2012, 2002 and 3, when SARS occurred in this part of the world, and we were able to prevent SARS get into the country. SARS really spread to Bangkok, Vietnam, Hong Kong, and several other cities in this part of Asia, but it never reached Sri Lanka. And we had a very good setup in the airport and the seaport, and we were able to screen people, and we were able to prevent it. But this time, from 30th of January to 11th of March, we were not able to take adequate measures in the airport or the seaport to prevent people infected coming into the country. But since 11th of March, the health services, our public health inspectors, medical officers of health, and many others in the health department, they involved heavily in protecting and the citizens, and also preventing the spread of COVID in this country, as well as the armed forces. They did really a very good job in preventing the spread. And humidity and the temperature of this country also help us, keeping the virus not spreading throughout the country. So all those, actions, and also the government took, drastic measures to keep curfew for 2 months. So that period, really, we were able to, control the COVID situation in the country. But there are so many instances that we need to really now, think of that. In the Navy camp, Palisara, we had, ongoing, spread of COVID. So that is because that they were segregated community. So therefore, that the spread was very, evident. And we knew that places like that, this can be spreaded, but we were not able to take adequate measures. And also in the Kandakadu camp, we knew that among the drug addicts, it's very, throughout the world, we had the experience that the disease can spread in this type of settings, but we were unable to take adequate measures. So we have a very strong health system, health service, and we are ready to, anytime we are ready to curtail any outbreak, or we can control the outbreak, but we have not been able to stop its spread. That's our problem. So I'm sure that, we have the strength of controlling the outbreak, but the government has, and the health system has to be vigilant where it can come, and where can take adequate action to curtail the outbreak when it is spreading. So we are not in a very bad wicket, but we need to constantly vigilant and make sure that our surveillance is strong enough to detect any case coming out of any place in the country and take adequate action. So far we have not, we have been able to, maintain the, the control activities. So we need to continue, keep, pressure on public as well as the government to make sure that, the country is protected, the public is protected. And when the airport is open, we do have really we need to take to be very vigilant how the COVID can spread in the country. You can ask any question, yes.
Yeah, the government sort of said that they would defeat COVID the same way they defeated terrorism, and that they actually went into the final bit of the campaign saying COVID Jayagat. What is your opinion about that? Can you defeat the virus like this?
It's very, very unlikely. And when I knew, yeah, I mean, that is why they got involved armed forces at the very beginning. They thought that they can control by using the army intelligence and armed forces intelligence services with the health system. So that is why they just ignored the public health system. And then we do have 96 years old public health system in the country. Basically, the medical officers of health and public health inspectors were doing a wonderful job in controlling the infectious disease in this country. They just ignored it because they thought that the armed forces can do the just like that they won the war during the last period of the war. So, I mean, that was really a mistake because, it is the public health system and that we need to strengthen during this type of outbreak, because this will not be the last time that we face this type of situation. So we are to get many more outbreaks in the future and epidemics in the future. So we need our public, we need to have a strong public health system. So nobody has, won this issue. No country in the world. We have to wait and see how it is really going to be spread in the future. And in 1918, you can go to the history. The flu outbreak, it was there for 10 years. And there were 6 epidemics within that 6 years. So, this is not the end. We need to be vigilant, and we need to make sure that the public is aware. What this government really did not was that they failed to educate the public. They failed to engage the public in the control of COVID, and then they were not able to get the public support in controlling the COVID. That was the real strategy that they would have used. And if they can really use that strategy, that is educating public, engaging public, and then make sure that they take adequate measures, in controlling the outbreak themselves, really would be the answer to control this type of outbreak.
So, are you convinced that there is no community transmission? I mean, what is we know what the WHO standard is, and also to declare ourselves COVID-free, there has to be a series of random tests done among the public and a reporting period. Now, are we anywhere there now, or do you think that there may be? Are you suspicious that there may be community transmission as well?
So far, I think that Sri Lanka in the clustering situation, not community transmission. And we do have clusters coming out in different places in the country originating from a main cluster. And it would have been there in the Kandakadu, the camp, for months or for weeks, this problem would have been there. So that is why really, it spread very soon to the other parts of the country when the people came out of the camp. So, but still, I'm sure because of the humidity and the temperature of this country, it spread very slowly. And it will be only among the families and very close situations. So therefore I do not believe that community transmission is in the country. But certainly there is a possibility that anytime, anywhere, there will be a cluster. And then that will be the real issue that we need to face. So once it get into a school or university or prison and or any factory or any place that where a large number of people are gathering, I think that will be the real problem that we are going to face, and no country will be COVID free until we find a vaccine. So that once we have a vaccine, and then if we can inoculate all the people, then only that we can be COVID free. And I am sure, I mean, that will take at least another 1 year. And then we need to get it to the market, and we need to make sure that it is available for all the people throughout the world. And that then only that really we will have a COVID free situation in the world.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nihal Abeysinghe. It's been a real pleasure talking to you. We wish you well, and at the same time, thank you to all the people who have joined us live on Facebook today. And this interview will be posted on our Facebook page. Please log in and also take a look at the other interviews that we've done over the past few days. So again, Dr. Nihal Abeysinghe of the National People Power, thank you very much and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Arjuna. Thank you for this opportunity to, talk to you and then talk to our viewers. Thank you very much.
Thank you.